Today, on the Heaven's Mail Video Podcast, we're going to talk about Slipknot. Hey, how's it going? I wrote this book called Rockstars on God, Volume 2. Yeah, it means there's a Volume 1. Volume 1 came out on Relevant Books in 2004, and it had 20 interviews with some of the biggest names I've interviewed. Henry Rollins, Sammy Hagar, Metallica, Kiss, and it was kind of a fun book. I used to do these interviews in HM Magazine. Every issue, it became a lot of people's favorite part of the magazine, and people said, hey, Doug, you got to put these together and make a book, and so I did, and that is Rockstars on God. And Volume 2, when it came out, who would want to buy this book? I mean, look at that. It's got interviews from Heaven's Metal and HM Magazine. Who would want to buy this? Yeah, it's a blatant claim to, I'm pitching this book. I mean, the late and great Ronnie James Dio is in here. But today we're going to talk about Slipknot. So I was on the phone with Roadrunner recording artist Slipknot, and I was with Chris Fenn, number 3, one of the drummers on the side of the stage in a 9-member band called Slipknot. And I asked him what he thought about Jesus, and he's like, I'd really like to meet him, And I was like, well, this was my usual follow-up question. I said, if you had a chance to meet him, what would you want to ask him? And he said, well, does everybody up there really see what I do every day? He's like, if so, I better change some bleep. And then I asked him about what do you think about his claims to be the way, the truth, and the life? No one comes to the Father but by me. And by the way, what do you think of Jesus Christ, and what do you think of his claims? Are probably the 2 most important questions, hook 'em horns, go Longhorns, in the entire universe. Probably the 2 most important questions you'll ever be asked. Anyway, so he kind of evaded that one a little bit. And later on in the interview, he's like, oh, I thought this was, is this a Christian magazine? I'm like, yeah, that's always a weird definition to put anything, but we cover predominantly what's considered Christian hard music. Oh, right on. I thought this was FHM. Ha ha ha, different mag, close. What is the name of the magazine? HM. It's just HM? Yeah, oh, right on. That is funny. That is funny because I totally don't answer those questions because I thought it was that bleep magazine. That's funny. Yeah, I'm like a totally religious dude, man, and I hold down back on that. And then he proceeds to tell me about his true beliefs and his belief in God. And what else? What can I read out of here? He says, self-will is a pretty heavy deal. God gave us free will. That's bad for a lot of people. And it used to be bad for me because of my self-will. It was all me, me, me. It was all about, whatever. All those bad things in life that But now it's cool, man. I'm straightened all that out. I have a relationship with something other than myself that gets me through it, man. And it goes on and on. I forgot about this. We're talking about the Passion of the Christ movie. We're talking about blasphemy of the Holy Spirit and what that means. Talking about making promises to God. Talking about being grateful. Talking about witchcraft. This was a good interview. So anyway, this Slipknot story goes like this. After the interview was over, one of the publicists for the label, who shall remain nameless, partly because I can't remember who it is right now, but if I really dug into my brain, I could probably remember what that publicist's name was, but it's not important for this story. But the publicist said, hey, Doug, great interview, it was awesome, but I know you kind of got into the religious topic. If you could just edit that out of the final interview, that'd be great. And I was like, well, I don't think that's going to happen, And he's like, well, it's got to, this interview is supposed to be about Slipknot and the band. And I'm like, interviews can be about several different topics. And I'm thinking to myself, the fact that I ask these mainstream rock stars about God is the hook and what makes my magazine and my interviews unique. So there's no way I'm going to back off on that. I mean, that's going to be like a battle for me. So I'm going toe to toe with this guy, basically. And he says, well, if you do not cut that part of the interview out, you will never do another interview with a Roadrunner Records artist again. And of course, they were the label that had, a Nickelback. I'm just kidding. They did have Nickelback on the label, but they have Type O Negative and tons of awesome bands. Trying to think of one of the bands they have is just really cool. It's in this magazine. Meshuggah. Yeah, I think Meshuggah was on that label. I could be wrong. But anyway, so he threatened me that I would never be able to do an interview with any artist on Roadrunner Records. And I was like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm not going to take that part of the interview out. and the phone conversation ended. And about a year later, I was talking to him, the publicist, and he was hooking me up with another interview. And I was like, "Yeah, whatever happened to that threat?" And he goes, "Oh, that's just water under the bridge, man." So, but anyway, I guess for the moment, letting the public know that a member of Slipknot believed in God wasn't very good for their image, because their image is kind of, oh, metal is evil, metal is pentagrams and upside down crosses. By the way, this is the Texas Longhorns symbol. That's what this is about. And I used it for the number 2 because it's 2 digits. But anyway, I think that's very funny that I was basically threatened professionally if I didn't edit out the religious part of the interview, when for me, the religious part was the most important part of the interview, and I wasn't about to cut that out. And I just realized I haven't read that interview in years since I edited this book, which came out, which is available. I reduced the price to only $15. $15. You need to get this. If this video blog comes out in the month of May, I have a coupon code for $5 off. The coupon code is Mayday, Mayday, and just check that. Use it when you're checking out. But anyway, when I put this book together in 2011, that's probably the last time I read that Slipknot interview, and I was just rereading it now for this video blog, and oh my gosh, what a cool interview. We got into some really cool subjects. It wasn't just a little bit about God, it was a lot about God. But I thought that was just hilarious that maybe, that topic would not be good for the band's image. And that's just hilarious. Anyway, and I forgot about how cool that interview was, because at the end of the interview, like a lot of them, we kind of struck up kind of a, camaraderie and a little mini friendship there. And he said, "Yeah, I look forward to hanging out with you in Austin." He goes, "That would be great." And they were here last summer, and I didn't remember that. And I should have tried to meet up with a guy. That would have been cool. I probably wouldn't have gotten in trouble for driving on the racetrack that night, but that's another story for another time. Join the discussion now.